Folks, this is Fernando doing our video for the Modern Survivalist, and I suggest you stick around for this video. I suppose it's going to be a little bit of a longer one, but I have no doubt you will be learning something interesting today. And this is the kind of thing that I just love about modern survivalism, especially those little tricks and hacks, especially the ones that are pretty simple but all about the knowledge. If you have that kind of information, it's very easy using very simple tools so as to do something pretty great. And this is actually a pretty good example of that, of such a thing. I've always talked about how important it is to have water and food. Those two are basically key for survival, and you can never have enough stored away. Now, the thing is, you also need means of cooking such food, and you have to keep in mind that there may be problems with infrastructure. Maybe you don't have power, you don't have natural gas, and you need alternative ways of cooking food. Let's suppose this thing here, right here, is not working. How is it that you cook food if you don't have electricity in this case? Well, basically, this is one of the coolest little things to do in terms of improvising a stove. Now, you've probably heard about the fancy CAT stove, or super CAT stove. Basically, it's done using a can similar to this one. Couldn't find an actual fancy CAT tin can, but this is, I suppose, it's pretty much the same size. All right. In case you haven't heard about it, it's actually pretty simple. You get yourself your fancy CAT can, right? You clean it up, of course, and then you punch some holes through it. All right. I found that maybe the two most better known models are the CAT32 and the CAT16. 16 holes, 32 holes, right? Now, the first one that I did was actually this one. This is what I call the HOBO42, and this is because I had these cans put away for this little project for some time. One day I just kind of went for it and just picked my German army knife tool, right, the punch, and just punched. Very simple, very easy. Just punched a series of holes and then did another row under that one. And only after actually doing it did I count that I had those 42 holes there. Couldn't be any easier. So you fill it up with, maybe not fill it up, just 4 tablespoons is usually enough to get some water boiling, but let's put a little bit more there, and you turn it on. Now, one of the things, and I have some information there that I'm going to be sharing with you guys in a second, but just in case you're not familiar with how this works, just this is rubbing alcohol. I think pretty much if you can get pure alcohol, that would be ideal. Depends on what country you're in, because regulations and that sort of thing. Gonna be giving it about a minute, which is what this specific model needs to prim. By priming, I mean it needs to warm up enough so that the alcohol inside starts evaporating on its own and coming out of those little holes in some kind of like a jet. If you're familiar with a Trangia stove, this is a Trangia model. Okay, this is the Trangia. Basically uses the same principle. You just turn it on. It's not as you don't need as much priming. It kind of prims pretty fast, and very quickly just starts jetting on the sides. Now, the interesting thing is, even that one, even the HOBO42, which was the most rudimentary one that I did, it works very, very good. It actually works just as good or even better than the nice military grade Trangia one. Okay, so I guess it should have been primed enough already. What you do is you put, and the nice thing in comparison to the Trangia is that you can use it as a support. You don't need any stand or anything. You don't need anything to put the pot on top. You just place it on top of the can, just like so. And once it's warm enough, it starts jetting. You see, like it's doing there. Okay, on the side. Now, this is kind of an intermediate power output model. All right, I did several ones. Let's go back here so as to show you guys what I've been trying. So this is the CAT16, all right, 16 holes. Then you have this other one, the CAT32, 32 holes, again using a punch so as to make those holes. The one that we're using there, the HOBO42, and this is the information that I ended up with after running a few tests. In terms of total capacity, you know, filling it up to the top, you have 40 milliliters for the CAT32, 50 for the CAT16, 42 for the 50 millimeters for the HOBO42, and 30 milliliters for the HOBO63, which is this model. This one is nice, and the nice thing about it is that it prims very fast. The priming process is a little bit of an issue with some of these models, especially with this one. It's the one that takes the longest to prim, about 3 minutes or so as to get hot enough and start working. Now, here are some of the tests that I did in terms of how long it takes to boil water. Let me, in case you want to see all that at the same time. How long it takes to boil water, and the runtime for 4 tablespoons, which is 20 milliliters of alcohol, 4 tablespoons, right? So with 20 milliliters, you get boiling in 5 minutes. With the CAT32, runs out of fuel in 10 minutes. So you have 5 minutes of boiling time. Maybe for, you know, doing some noodles or pasta, that sort of thing. If it's quick enough, it gets the job done. CAT16, it takes a total of 12 minutes to get the water boiling, and by water I mean 300 milliliters, a glass full of tap water, right? That's what I use for testing, and it runs for 8-10 minutes. HOBO42, which is the one using right now, that starts boiling at 7 minutes and runs out of fuel, those 4 tablespoons, at 14 minutes. And the Super Hobo, that's boiling in 5 minutes, runs out of fuel by 8.5 minutes. Now, with these two models, which are the ones that run the most efficient ones, I did a total runtime at full capacity, filling them up to the as much as possible until reaching those holes, which is 50 milliliters for both of these. And I got, with a CAT16, which is this one, CAT16, I got total runtime of 29 minutes. With a HOBO42, the one I'm using right now, a total of 20 minutes, which is, pretty decent. I mean, it's basically a little can full of holes. You cannot extinguish it, right? That's maybe the tricky part about it, because you cannot. The only way of actually extinguishing it would be doing something like that, putting a can on top, which gets out the, stops the oxygen from going in, and that basically extinguishes the flame. So having a little bit of a can like that sort of works. But it's surprisingly efficient, especially when you compare it to the time proven and actually very good on its own right Trangia. The Trangia model will, using the same amount of fuel, warming the same amount of water, it's going to be taking 6 minutes, okay, to get water boiling, and it's going to be running out of those 20 milliliters of alcohol by the time you have by 9 minutes. All right, so it's extremely cheap. Couldn't be any more inexpensive. You probably have materials around your house right now to try one of these. It's actually efficient in terms of the way it's using the fuel as well. Very light, very durable as well. There's really nothing that could go wrong with a can with a few holes in it. So yeah, I'd say that this one's kind of still warm. This one is, looking at this information, I would say, and this is the priming time that I have for each one of these. With the CAT32, this one, I have a priming time of 1 minute. CAT16, priming time of about 3 minutes, and this is pretty warm weather here, right? If we had much colder weather, it could be considerably more. HOBO42, it's about 2 minutes, and Super HOBO63, which is this one, in about 40 seconds. That's basically one of the things that you have to keep in mind as well. What is it that you need depending on the model that you're using? Basically, I'd say that I'm the happiest with the first one that I did. This one that seems so rudimentary, so coarse in some ways. It's actually very efficient. First of all, you have a good amount of maximum fuel capacity. It's fast enough to prim. You know, it's not as fast as this one, but still fast enough. And I suppose it's also because of all the jagged metal on this side, which, you know, little pieces of metal coming outside, I suppose those heat up faster than the nicer, better cut holes in these models. So I guess that's part of it. Also the size of the holes. These ones are 5mm holes, maybe a little bit too big, especially when you have 2 rows of them. Here it's about right, but you know, one of the problems with having just one bigger hole is that it takes a little bit more time to heat up the upper section of the can. With this one, with these 2 rows, it means that it's going to be heating up and start evaporating a little bit faster. Again, maybe because of the way in which some metal is out like that, but you know, if you want to try it out, it's extremely easy to do and works quite well. So in terms of a maximum runtime, I think these two would be the ones. Let's suppose for a bug-in situation, staying put, if I had no electricity and I had to use one right now, I'd probably go with this one. I'd use this one, the CAT16. You know, giving it a little bit of time, 2-3 minutes, so as to prim properly and start evaporating, but then get a good rolling boil on whatever it is I'm cooking, and those almost 30 minutes of runtime, that's quite decent. If you're talking about very cold weather, I suggest giving it a try to this one, the HOBO63. This one will prim in 40 seconds in warm weather, I guess in 1 minute, because you know, just a lot of air goes in, and there's lots of thin metal to heat up very fast. Of course, gonna be maybe a little bit of a flame that's too big, so you have to have a pot that has a good size on top so as to make good use of that fuel, and it's going to be going through it a lot faster as well. I think that the best in-between point, you know, for a bug-out bag or something, a kit to keep in your car, HOBO42 would be maybe one of my favorites, or even the CAT32 as well. But yeah, I definitely stick with this one over the 32, basically because of that. It just those smaller holes make for a more efficient jet and use of the alcohol that I have. You know, you have the possibility of putting more of it if you need a little bit more cooking time. So yeah, guys, that's basically it. Just a little bit of information regarding some of the things that I did and some suggestions for you folks to try out. Guys, remember to subscribe, take care, share, thumbs up, always appreciate it. Leave your comments below. See you on our next video.